Ian.
Dave.
Pat. Ian, we have a guest on the show tonight.
Yes, we've convinced yet another person to join us. Pat Curtin, all around Colorado car bon voyant and Pikes Peak enthusiast, writer, car restorer.
Delightful, weird car Twitter presence.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you. That is more than an intro I could ever need.
Well, thank you for coming on the show tonight. So we've known each other just kind of across the regions of Colorado for a while. We first interacted with you at the Unser outdoor karting track that is sorely missed by Ian and I. Yeah.
I was going to say, back in the day, you guys were out there, it seemed, at least 3 or 4 times a week.
I wish.
From the time I started, it seemed like you guys were just always out there, you know, and then we got that league racing, that kind of stuff going before we started to shut down. So, you know, you guys were super involved. It was really cool to be hanging out with you guys. And it's nice to know that I knew you before Apex Adjacent.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
that's true.
That's my claim to fame. Yeah, all the cars, whatever. Knowing Team Clear Code, that's the secret.
See, that's the OG right there. OG. Yeah. Yeah. We put the O in OG.
and you've seen us both race karts a lot, and you worked there. Did you work on the karts?
So at the time, I started there kind of right out of college. I was looking for a job, kind of wanting to get into cars. Couldn't really find anything, and then started as like a customer service guy there.
Okay.
Once I had been there about 5 or 6 months, they kind of saw that, right, I was real into the racing, right, really picking up everything that was going on. And I kind of moved into a management position. So by the end of everything, I was managing most of the events and stuff over there. As you guys both know, right, the owner of the outdoor end of things kind of left to start his own go-kart team. Yep. And they've been doing fairly successful, but, right, he kind of left me high and dry there in the end.
Yeah. Well, I was asking because I just wanted to apologize because I was there all the time and we were there all the time. I'm sure that we did not leave the karts in as good a shape as we found them all the time. So
that's totally fine. That's for the mechanics to deal with.
Right. Okay.
Gotcha.
I got a guy for that.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as I get it off the track, we're all good.
Yeah. I mean, if we weren't breaking them, then they wouldn't have anything to do. So we're job creators, Ian.
My most spectacular off there, and I love talking about this because with people who know this track, is it's such a weird thing. But basically, for anyone who has never been there, it's like it was a track that was like laid out on the side of a hill, essentially. So there was a lot of elevation gain for a kart track, and at the far end of it, there was like a field and a drop off to a fence, like that. It like rolled down to a fence. I went off so spectacularly at the top of the hill that I went backwards and came to a rest against the fence at the bottom of the hill in a rental cart.
And that was right as at the track there, right? That was the furthest point and the only point on the track that we couldn't see.
Yep. I had to get out and go like this and stand. I had to walk back up the hill because I was just like, I don't think they know I'm here.
Right, yeah. Like all the track marshals are right, like 15, 16. If they weren't literally counting carts going around, they would easily lose a cart back over that back end.
Yeah,
and if it was wet or anything, right, there's just no way you were getting anybody out. Most of the times you'd have to stop the race.
Yeah.
There's been some attrition in the field. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we really miss it, but we're very thankful that we met you there and that we've been Twitter buddies since then, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I've really missed the track, but you know, as I was telling you guys earlier, I've kind of moved on to bigger and better things. You know, karts are fun, but cars are cooler.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So it was great events though, and I imagine that the logistics of like putting those events together was probably actually pretty good training for some of the other stuff that you've been involved in, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I wasn't really running the events out there at Unser. We had a guy, CJ. I'm sure you guys both remember.
Yep.
He was the one really strong arming a lot of the events and that sort of stuff. But I definitely got a lot of hands-on experience there. And then as soon as the track closed down, I actually went and interned down for the hill climb. So my first running down there was the 97th, when the last year of the motorcycles and kind of transitioning over. But I got to go down there and help out, set up the event. And just from being at the karting track and then turning around to something as big and massive as Pikes Peak, there was still some overlap, right? I could see the value in tech and that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
And then since then, I've just fallen in love with Pikes Peak. I could spend my whole life up there on the hill.
I've always been fascinated by it, and I've lived here like a decade, and I've still never been to a race because it's so daunting to just go and watch because it's such a commitment to. It's like a full weekend, right? That you kind of have to commit to it. So how did you first become aware of it, and what have you been doing with it now? Like what's been your role?
Okay, yeah. So my first year, I interned there, basically helping set up the event. Basically doing whatever I could to help, set hay bales, all that kind of stuff, climbing up and down the mountain. I'm obviously into Twitter, so I was really pushing on the live tweeting and getting that stuff going.
Nice.
My stuff on race day was, live tweeting that 97th race. And then for the 98th race, I basically wrote out all the live tweeting and everything. And then I'm sorry, I got that backwards. I did 2 years of live tweeting, and then my third year, I actually got to interview all the drivers up at the summit. So that was kind of
awesome.
That was kind of the big buildup. And then, since then, the events kind of changed around a little bit. I've played around a little more. I've worked Gateway. And then this year, I think I'm going to try and get into kind of tech and safety. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Helping out all over the mountain wherever I can. Always wanting to learn. And being the third oldest motorsport in the United States, there's so much history, and a lot of people don't seem to enjoy the history as much as somebody like me. So,
no, it's super cool, and the old videos of or old pictures or whatever of what they were doing back in the day are just insane. Even so the karting place, they have an old Pikes Peak car in the lobby there. And the craziest thing to me, there's lots that's crazy about it, but the craziest thing to me is the drive shaft that goes right in between your feet.
Yeah, just spinning right underneath you.
Just insane.
Yeah, as you climb 5,000 feet, it's no big deal. It's whatever.
On gravel, by the way.
Yeah.
So you're definitely getting gravel flung at you, surely, from that drive shaft.
Oh, yeah. Any of those old guys, you talk about Louis Unser, any of those old guys, even going back to where there were riding mechanics and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I've heard a few old interviews with Louis Unser and some of those older guys who ran mostly in the dirt. And a lot of them say that no matter what, you just got to be full throttle and pointing at the mountain, right? Even if you're all the way out and the back end sliding away from you, as long as you have your nose pointed towards the mountain and you're full throttle, you're going to be okay. But that mentality is just insane to think about on some of those turns.
Right. Yeah. Ian and I threw down a sim day the other day. We were playing some Assetto Corsa. We were driving a classic F1 car, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And it just when you put yourself in those things or see those physical pieces of metal, the impact of the danger just becomes so much more real. The amount of power that the cars have, the fact that you're 5,000 feet into the air, it's all so yes, F1 used to be crazy unsafe, right? But they weren't going up a freaking mountain,
Yeah. They at least had guardrails on both sides.
Yeah, for better or worse, right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, usually worse. I think the worst of it at the peak of the danger in F1, it was something like 25% of the drivers that started the season did not finish the season because they were no longer with us.
Right. That was insane. I was just reading a book on Ferrari history and the 250 GTOs when those were running.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they go through 13 or 14 drivers in the 3 seasons that they ran them. It's just unbelievable how fast they're moving through people.
Yeah, racing drivers used to just be expendable people, like they were just commodities that you would just swap in and out.
Exactly,
like you do,
yeah.
like brake pads. Oh, we gotta change the brake pads. Oh, and the driver died again.
They're a wear item. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Dear God.
That's one of my favorite classic racers was a guy named Maston Gregory, who raced in kind of the 50s and 60s. He was from Kansas City, so he was known as the Kansas City Flash.
Okay.
Big like Coke bottle glasses. But his claim to fame was that anytime he was going to be in an accident, he would jump from the car. And that's just unreal. Yeah.
I mean, hey, how long did it work for him?
It seemed like it worked more than a handful of times. He was known for it.
I mean, hey.
Yeah, I like that.
I like that. Like, I'm not going to stick around and receive consequences for my mistakes.
Yeah. Well, so Ian and I we've never been to Pikes Peak. I've been living in Colorado since 2000. I've driven my old Saab up it once, right, which was hilarious. But it and a bad decision. But we've never been to the race, and we really, really need to go. Like, for anybody that is even nearby, like, what besides the history of it, why do you think it's important for folks to attend Pikes Peak?
I mean, in my eyes, it is the event in Colorado. I mean, you look back into history, and we had all sorts of racetracks, that kind of stuff throughout history. But the hill has always been there, and it was started by Spencer Penrose back in 1916, right? It just has so many connections to Colorado Springs. Spencer Penrose also started the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo and actually founded the Broadmoor. So he was kind of a big baller back in the day, back in 1916. And I think it was 1915, they had put up the horse carriage road, and he said, I would like to run a race up the mountain. And Colorado Springs came back to him and said, well, we can't really run a race up here. And he said, I'll put down $500,000 to help pave this road. And sure enough, they did. And for the next, there was some segment of time that in the contract, he was given the mountain every 4th of July. And he could run the race on the 4th of July.
Okay.
So for a long, long time, it was our independence celebration here in Colorado. But that's kind of fallen away in recent years just because of the logistical land and all that together. So.
Sure. Yeah.
But you look at like huge names. There's been so many people that have run the mountain that are just huge racing names, right? The Unsers, of course, are massive. You look at like Group B and Michel Mouton.
Yeah.
All the way up to modern stuff. We got Sebastian Loeb and Romain Dumas. And then, of course, nowadays we got Robin Shute, who's literally building this car in his garage out in England, and now has become the 3-time king of the mountain. Like,
crazy.
It's hard not to find something cool in all the little facets of Pikes Peak.
Well, I think that's, by the way, just a side note to your thing, $500,000 in 1916 is $13.6 million today.
Yeah.
And it was originally like a publicity stunt, right? It was like a way to get people to the Broadmoor, essentially, right? Like it was like related to, he was trying to attract people to his other things that he had, I think.
You're right. I'm not 100% sure if the Broadmoor was actually open when the first race ran, but it was within 3 or 4 months of being finished. So it was the draw of getting everybody out there.
Right.
And he had built the Broadmoor as this big European getaway, right? Kind of in the style of what people overseas would do. So the idea was that people from Europe would fly over, right? Kind of spend the summer here at the Broadmoor and then go see the race while they were in town.
Yeah, very cool. But yeah, to what you were getting at too is like I think the coolest thing about Pikes Peak is that it's one of the few remaining things in motorsport where like you can legitimately have somebody building something in their garage and have it run competitively with factory teams and long-term racing teams and stuff like that. That just doesn't exist really anymore. I mean, there's a little bit maybe in Le Mans, but not like it is in Pikes Peak.
Yeah, and never quite to the same degree, right? Like one I'm thinking of recently is there's a kid here in town, Trevor Oweda, and he has an Audi 4000 that he's getting ready to run. This will be his second time, I believe. But right, his dad's been running for 4 or 5 years, and so getting back to Pikes Peak, it's just all about family and repeat runners at the mountain.
That's amazing. Yeah, his dad ran a Boss Mustang for a while, right? Yeah.
That's correct. Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. No, there was an excellent article in a magazine we happened to come across called Shift Magazine about him. Yeah, in issue 1.
Oh, yeah. I happen to know Shift. Yeah, I've been doing plenty of editing for them, and then a few little articles here and there.
Yeah, for anybody who doesn't know, Shift Magazine is an online magazine that's completely free. It's just a great, well-designed PDF that you can download of Colorado car culture, automotive, like motorsports, all kinds of stuff, like largely motorsport and racing centric, but still, like, yeah, there's a great article about the gentleman building the Audi in his garage. And you've written a couple articles for it as well, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember my earlier articles. I'm working on the 3rd issue right now. We're pretty deep into the production run here.
You had one that I was really excited to talk about, which was the case for Colorado, as like kind of the idea of the article was like, you know, we have all these other places in our heads about like kind of epicenters of car culture in the U.S., but that Colorado is it's kind of a singular center for car culture too. So I was curious, like, you know, what drove you to want to write that? Was there like did somebody say something and you got a chip on your shoulder about it? Or was it just like, hey, I don't think people know about this?
Yeah, I think it probably leans more towards the latter, right?
Okay.
I'm definitely following all these automotive outlets that, you know, love to cheer about California and Angeles Forest and that kind of stuff. And it's like, hey, out here in Colorado, we have half the state that's covered in mountains. I mean, there is plenty of good driving roads if you know where to look.
Yeah.
So, my whole argument there was that although we all kind of look at Southern California as the place for car culture, there's been plenty of other stuff that has helped to make car culture great. We had plenty of huge racetracks, as I was mentioning earlier. There was one, Overland Park, way back in the day. So that was one of the first racetracks. And then we had Continental Divide, which was down near like Castle Rock. And lots of guys who raced at Continental Divide actually also, right, they'd use that as kind of the running track between Pikes Peak.
Okay.
But guys as big as like Ken Miles and Carroll Shelby would run out at Continental Divide. That's actually where my boss's dad met Carroll Shelby.
Oh.
So they had some kind of family ties there. So Flo Farland, I work for Farland Classic Restoration. My boss is Jack Farland. His dad is a gentleman named Fo Farland, who started a Chrysler dealer back here in the 1960s. So just getting to be involved with all that Colorado culture and getting to meet him and realize that, oh, there's a lot more Colorado car stuff going on than we realized.
Yeah.
Just like one other little one, I was reading that Ferrari 250 GTO book, and one of the original customer cars from Ferrari was a 250 GTO in blue that came to a gentleman here in Denver.
Interesting.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
yeah, he only owned it for about a year and a half before selling it down to a guy in New Mexico. But that's kind of our cool claim to fame on the 250 GTO.
Oh, that's
Nice.
really interesting.
Colorado is certainly underrated. I don't think I really truly appreciated like the car culture in Colorado until like Ian and I like really dove into doing this, right? Like, and also I didn't really appreciate it until I started doing like some deep dives on Craigslist, like, and comparing like Colorado Craigslist to surrounding areas. Like I'm from Kansas City, right? Like they can't like, I would look at Kansas City Craigslist because maybe there's something I could buy out there, drive back, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Take it over. Yeah.
Yeah. And Colorado is just this abnormality of like such eclectic cars that just, and all that stuff just eventually filters down to Craigslist when they're the ninth owner. And it's a beautiful bouquet of just weird stuff that shows up, you know? Yeah.
There's a Datsun 510 that's been bouncing around Craigslist for a few months now, and it goes to a new owner, and then I hear that they can't quite figure out these engine issues, and it goes on to the next one. So,
yeah.
there's plenty of that stuff moving around, and all sorts of weird oddities seem to end up here too. One that I keep seeing is like VW Brasilias. Have you guys ever heard of those?
Oh no. Let me pull up a picture and show the folks. Yeah. Okay, VW Brasilia. Huh.
So as far as I know, they're a variant of the Type 3, but they were only built for like Brazilian markets.
Oh wow, okay. Let's share.
Are you showing a browser? Okay.
Yeah, here we go. Yeah. It's fine, Google. I know I'm sharing. It's okay. It's all right. Yeah, so these guys like little wagon buddies.
Yeah, and those terrible little double headlight setups. Yeah.
Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. Huh.
Yeah. That's really interesting. It is like a bent version of like the 412 or whatever. Like it looks,
I never even think of the 412, but it's very close to the 412.
Yeah.
Ian, this really is the precursor to your R32. This is your great grandpappy car. Yeah.
So we just had this Golf at Farland that I had never heard of, and you guys might know it. It was a G60 supercharged and all-wheel drive.
I have never.
So I didn't know they had the rally version. I think was all-wheel drive. But I thought the G60 was in the Scirocco, right? Oh, there you go.
Correct. Yeah. So that one you're looking at there. Yeah, we had car number 63 of whatever the run was there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but apparently that was kind of the precursor to the R. But
very
super rare. Yeah.
That's really rare.
No kidding. Yeah. So for anyone who doesn't know, describe Farland and what goes on there, what happens behind these doors. Yeah. And what your role is there.
Okay. Yeah. So I started at Farland Classic Restoration here in Englewood back in October of 2019.
Okay.
I'm the social media and help out with marketing and some of the sales there. But basically, we are a Concours level restoration shop. We'll do full nut and bolt restorations on all sorts of rare American, Italian, European type stuff. Kind of our two big ones last year were a 1952 Hudson Hornet and a 1973 Ferrari Daytona.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, lots of playing around in kind of that older European stuff. Lots of carburetors, playing around with that as well. So
that's
nice.
Amazing. Yeah.
Nice. And you guys have started doing some electric conversions. That's been a big part of the business for a while. What are you seeing any like? Because I think we've talked about this before. Like, you know, I think the initial kind of trend was sports cars. You know, like the 911s and things like that. And I keep hoping that people are going to do like vans and you know, big luxury car, like a Lincoln Town car would be, or like a Continental would be like the perfect thing, right, for an electric conversion. Are you guys starting to see more of those, or is it still more on the sports car end of things?
So yeah, we do a lot of the electric conversions on sports car type stuff right now. Mm-hmm. And kind of how our electric setup works is we will work with kind of electric conversion manufacturers like Electric GT or Moment Motors down in Texas. And so they basically will help us out with a kit, and then we do all the install on that kind of stuff. I did go out to a show called Fully Charged back in October and got to really learn about a lot of this electric conversion stuff, kind of got to meet the team at EV West, those groups, that kind of stuff. And a lot of the stuff we're seeing right now is just because that has already been designed and converted over, right? It's real easy to work with air-cooled stuff.
Right.
You know, like on our Porsche, we have the electric motor mounted to an EV West transfer plate, and then that mounts to the original Porsche transaxle. So it's still actually a 5-speed.
Oh, really cool.
So yeah, I mean, that's a fairly easy install. You got to wire controllers and charge point and batteries, but other than that, I mean, it can essentially drop into a car. But then, talking about those bigger boats and stuff, I think those would definitely be more applicable to electric conversion, because you just got to balance range versus power.
Sure.
Right? And everybody wants all the power in the world and all the range in the world. But
right.
If you can work one of those back a little bit, it'll help you a ton. And something like a Lincoln Continental, you have so much space to work with.
Yeah.
That you can throw batteries between the frame rails, back in the trunk, right? There's so many more options for you. Where like on our Porsche 912, we have 5 Tesla batteries up in the front, under the hood. But then other than that, we really can't fit any more underneath the car.
Right. Well, yeah, that's part of it. And then the other part too is like, the cool part about a Lincoln Continental or, a Volkswagen bus or something like that was never the engine, was never the power, so you're not losing anything. There's only things to gain, right? Like you're only breathing new life into something, and you're not like upsetting anybody or losing the sensation of a noisy engine and all that sort of stuff,
Exactly. And at Farland, right, we try and balance that a little bit. Like our Porsche conversions, the 2 we've done in-house so far are both Porsche 912s. So they're the 4-cylinder. It's not quite as sacrilegious.
Yeah.
But, some Porsche people walk into the building and won't even look at the car. They're, that's absolutely sacrilege. There's no reason for that.
Yeah.
But then, we have an 85 Carrera, and that one went through a flood. It sat in a flood up in New York for 2.5 weeks, and that motor is seized. We sent the motor back to the family, and they decided we could go electric and give this car another life. So
yeah,
it's easy to get mad about electric, but there's a lot of practical applications for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's funny. I think part of it is probably just self-selection. Like the people who are into cars and early adopters are also the type of people who buy sports cars probably. And that's probably a lot of the reason why this was the first wave. It's just funny that it's maybe not the best application for it, but it's a really cool idea. And I'm really excited to see where it goes from here for sure.
Oh, absolutely. And that Hudson I mentioned, something like that was 70 feet long and there's 30 feet of space inside. That is just asking for an electric swap.
Right.
So yeah, it's right. Balancing expectations. That's all we do over at Farland.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
A lot of times we'll get somebody who comes in and it's a 1-family car and they've loved it its whole life, but it's a 72 Monte Carlo. And we're like, hey, even if we put in all the time and effort to restore this, it's going to be worth about a quarter of what this restoration will cost.
Yeah.
So do we want to get into that? Probably not. So.
Yeah. There's a little bit of heartbreak built into that line of work for sure. Right.
Yeah. You gotta often tell people that their beloved car is closer to worthless than they think.
Right. Yeah. Do you watch that BBC show Repair Shop at all? Have you seen that?
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Oh yeah, it's these restoration experts in the UK, and you can bring them, an old typewriter cash register, ceramics that have been broken, stuff like that. Every now and then, people bring them things that are, largely worthless, but it's 1,000% sentimental value, right?
Yeah.
And seeing people want to have things continue to live on because of that value, and just disregarding the financial value of it is something very interesting. Yeah.
Right. That's actually how our Hudson Hornet was.
Okay.
Even at the top end, Hudsons aren't quite what we put into this one, but it was a family that had owned it for just about 50 years here in Denver, and they were getting ready for a big family reunion. So we were going to present the car at the family reunion.
Oh, that's awesome.
That went over real well. Yeah, they love that. So.
Yeah, that's amazing.
What color was that car?
It was kind of a 2-tone, gray over blue.
Oh, okay, never mind. Because I think there's another one kicking around Denver that I think is yellow, but I've never. But it doesn't look like it's been restored.
Okay, yeah. This one actually, it lived at the Forney Museum here in town for probably 10 or 15 years.
Oh, interesting.
So we also took it over there. It had a friend it went in with. So we brought the car back over and got some shots for that owner.
Oh, that's great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I get to spend half my day fighting with photos and teaching everybody how to work a computer. And then the other half, I'm getting taught all the fun carves and how to get stuff around town.
That's a great trade-off, to be honest. You know?
Yeah. I rode in a BMW Isetta on Tuesday, so I really can't complain.
You rode in one?
Yeah,
so
what was it like being with another human being in that car?
Oh, it was terrible. We were bumping elbows the whole time, right? And we just looked like goofballs, the two of us going on the date in this thing.
That's amazing. Is this it here, the red and white one?
Yeah, exactly there.
Oh,
and so
wow.
That's actually the most produced single-cylinder car of all time.
I love it. Look at its little
fantastic
face.
Bit of trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It is terrifying to ride in. I mean, you get in it and it's like, this would be cool in a 600-year-old Italian city, but anywhere else, I'm going to get squashed.
Yeah.
You mean it's not fun being next to like an Escalade and that?
Yeah. I really get to notice how shiny their wheels are.
Yeah. It's the size of the A-pillar in the Escalade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
That's amazing. Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah. I once saw someone exiting the highway in a Porsche 550 replica or, something. But, I mean, it's a tin can and it's tiny. And they were on I-70 at like I-70 in Quebec. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah. That's terrifying. I mean, I've driven a few of those. We've had a few like mid-50s speedsters and stuff. And even those, you just feel like you're so exposed, even more than like a Volkswagen Bug.
Yeah, you'd have more coverage on a scooter. Yeah.
Well, and the sill line is like down here, right? Like you're sitting above the car.
Yeah. Especially in the speedster, like I would say that the middle of my chest is probably the bottom of the belt, or the top of the belt line.
Yeah. Crazy.
Just nips up, exposed to the elements.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you think about somebody like David Donner running an RSK at Pikes Peak in the 60s, and it's like,
yeah,
I'm okay, thanks.
That is wild, Pat. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wow. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Yeah.
So I guess that brings up a good question. So have you ever had a car or your a family car or anything like that you would talk yourself into spending way more money to have restored than it would ever be hoped to have it be worth any day?
Oh, that's terrible, because my daily driver is a 1987 BMW E30.
Mm-hmm.
So I would throw all the money in the world at that to get all the Alpina bits and that kind of stuff. But we also had a 1979 Volkswagen Bus growing up. That was my first car.
Nice.
And going back to the electric stuff, that's one that I think I would go electric on and just drive until the cows came home.
Oh God, like an electric VW bus just seems like such a no-brainer to me, right? As that's a retirement toy. Just an electric VW bus is perfect. Like, you got nowhere to be. We can charge every 4 hours, whatever, I mean, that's perfect. Like that, an electric Volkswagen bus on Highway 1, just going up and down the coast was just like, look.
Yeah, all day long. And that's so funny you pulled up that picture, because mine looked exactly like that one.
Oh, amazing.
79 in red, and it did have the roof rack.
Well, we've got that bus right here.
Oh, the big reveal.
Yeah.
Unless Ian fell into a giant crypto stash that he didn't tell me about. I don't think. I didn't know Apex Adjacent was funded like that, Ian.
Yeah. Neither did I. So you said Alpina bits. Would you go? Your dream restoration of your E30? Would you go period correct? Would you go modern? Would you go what? What would you do with it?
I think
No budget cap at all.
Okay, I'm gonna be a little lame here. I drive the E, so that's a 2.7 liter inline six, but I've driven it about 5 years now, and it has been bulletproof reliable. It's a little slow, but I don't mind. I grew up driving a Volkswagen bus, so
Yeah,
that's no
everything's
issue
fast.
at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's fast. I'm flying in this thing. So the guy who had owned it before me was a BMW master mechanic, and he had converted it to manual.
Oh, okay.
So I'm already good there. I have houndstooth seats in cloth all throughout.
Oh, yeah.
I love those, but if I was paying all the money in the world, I might do like a sport style leather outside with the houndstooth inside.
Right.
Yeah.
Get a little crazy there. And then other than that, I mean, pretty simple stuff. Limited slip diff. It's still riding on the original 14s, so I'm going to keep running 14s.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
So hard to get tires for that thing?
Oh, yeah. Finding 14s anywhere is an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Vredestein does some good ones, though.
Huh.
They're not too bad. And then, working at the shop, we deal with all sorts of goofy tire fitments. So we got, the help there.
Yeah.
Right. I know when
my technicians drive E30s, so that helps a ton, too.
Oh, there you go.
For sure.
Yeah.
I know that when my dad started running the Maserati in the racing, he had a hard time finding tires. It was a big thing. So he had to do a big hub conversion and the whole thing just so he could have a common tire size, because it was just a nightmare.
That's a lot of people will 5-lug swap E30s, but they end up using RX-7 suspension components, I think.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, weird. Yeah. Okay.
I was going to ask about the Maserati. What model is that one?
It's a bi-turbo.
Ooh, okay. The boxy ones?
The boxy ones, yeah. So at the time, so when he started, it was, this was 10 years ago or so now, more than that now. It was just an old car that nobody really liked. So they were really, you could pick them up for nothing.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did. He picked up many of them.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, nobody had really raced them or anything. So it was not an expensive car. And this is actually, my uncle was maybe the second owner of this.
Oh, okay.
Of the red car, the one that got wadded up at Watkins Glen, and this is another one. But the original one was, my uncle had it as a car back in the 90s, and then this happened. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world for one of those Maseratis.
No, and it's really it's super fun to drive. But the hubs are, I think, Subaru. I think they're WRX hubs. Because that's what they could get to work. And there's all sorts of weirdo stuff going on under here, but and then Maserati didn't change the design of that engine for ever. They just kept iterating it, mm-hmm. that bi-turbo design went on for a really long time. So there's tons of low volume options for where there's 6 of them. But there's a lot of different options that you can swap in and out of this. So it's
okay.
Cool.
Okay. And is that a V6? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a V6.
And is that based on the Busso?
It's based on, I believe, a Citroen design.
Oh, known for their reliability.
No, oh yeah, it's the French and the Italians.
a perfect mix there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when they do food, yes. When they collaborate on food, oh my god, it's amazing. But mechanical and electrical, maybe not so much. Yeah, it's Citroen block, I believe, and then Maserati bolt the turbos to it. I think I have that right. Someone will correct me. My dad will correct me.
I mean, there are people that convert these to electric in the manner that you were talking about, Pat, with the motor to the transmission. Our buddy Victoria Scott drove one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. She put up an article on Jalopnik about 2 years ago about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, Ian, if you want to add more complicated things or remove complicated things from your dad's racing team, or you just want to play a prank on him one night, just EV swap the biturbo and see what happens.
I will say that, we were talking earlier about like not having space to do things in a chassis.
Yeah.
This is not a large car.
No.
Like the pictures don't really do it justice. The wheelbase, I believe, is smaller than a Miata's. It's tiny.
It is a tiny car. Yeah.
But I mean, look at all that luxury.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep. Yeah.
They are a cool look. I've just never seen one in person.
Yeah, because they all broke. They all broke down.
What is on the kind of short list of stuff that you haven't seen in person that you really want to see? Yeah, what would you love to see roll through? Or
Oh, that's really tough. One that just jumped to mind. Have you guys heard of the Radford 62-2?
Yes, that's Jensen Button's new coach building project, right?
Yeah. So when I was out at Fully Charged, I saw not Jensen Button, but Ann Ansted's other kind of coach built car. It's kind of based on a Mini, and then there's elements of like Miata in there too.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool to see. But then, right when I was at Pikes Peak, when I interviewed everybody, Ann Ansted was actually the pace car driver. So I asked him if the Radford would even run. And lo and behold, this year they've just announced that there will be one running. So
oh, wow.
That's awesome.
That will be a cool one to go see.
Yeah.
That's really exciting.
That's amazing.
This is such a cool project. Like, I'm super psyched about it. We've talked about this a bunch on the show before, but like just sort of the potential for coach building as a thing to come back with the idea of like skateboard chassis and all of that. Like, here is my exact requirements and all of that. And here's a skateboard chassis, like make it happen. I can't wait for just weird shit to be rolling around on the roads again.
Exactly. Like I'm amazed that like, right, Pininfarina has spun off as their own brand, but I can't believe they aren't buying those, what are they, the MQB Volkswagen skateboards?
Right.
And building something off that. That seems like a no-brainer. But
Right.
I don't run a manufacturing firm.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if part of it is like crash testing and stuff like that is just so difficult. But there must be, a way to for the regulatory kind of apparatus to like take some of this into account, because that is definitely the way that the technology is moving. And it would be nice if that would kind of catch up with it,
Yeah, if we could lean into that a little more and help get the manufacturers away from big, beefy EVs.
Yes.
Yeah. Right?
Like, yeah.
I haven't seen a Hummer EV in person yet, but
I
I'm
have.
looking forward to it.
I have. I was in Michigan, and they are as huge as you think they are. It's just like silly, stupid, huge.
I haven't seen one yet, but it makes me think that I'm going to have the same reaction the first time I saw a Ford Expedition in like 1990, whatever, right? The first time I saw it, I genuinely thought it was a military vehicle. Like it was something so large on the road that my little Missouri brain couldn't wrap around it. Yeah.
Well, now that doesn't even seem that crazy, right? Like it doesn't even, like, compared to like either the average brodozer that I see on a daily basis, like that's a small car.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're not any bigger than any of the brodozers.
Yeah. Huh.
I think what we've established here is that the ideal form factor for an electric car is Lincoln Continental.
Yes.
Exactly. I'm glad we could answer that for everyone.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Get on it, Ford.
Yeah, as well as Ford has managed Lincoln, I don't think they're going to listen to us. Although they do have a history of bad decisions, so maybe they will. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's. Yeah.
Should we? What do you say we play a game?
Yeah. Pat, we have a license plate game prepared for you.
All right.
So Ian has not seen this either. Let me
So we're working together.
crack open the folder here. This I couldn't really find anything in the hopper to theme for you. So this is just Audis with vanity plates, buddy. Just
Okay.
do you have history with Audi? Give me general thoughts on Audi.
My family is big Audi drivers.
Okay.
I've seen a few of the Quattro S1s in person, but
Ooh.
and we sold, what is it, RS2 right before I started at Farland.
Oh, very cool. The wagon.
Yeah, Nagaro blue. Yeah.
Oh my god.
The color.
Amazing.
Yeah.
The one. Yeah. Cool,
Did you sell it to Doug DeMuro? Yeah.
That we didn't. That was actually like our first bad taste with the auction stuff. We kind of had somebody farting on that car, and that didn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, here's some less valuable Audis. I can guarantee you. Yes. All right. Here you go. All right. So, yeah, Ian, do you want to narrate what for the audio listeners? Yeah.
Well, okay. So we're promised Audis, and the first car is a Lincoln.
It is.
Lincoln, is that MKC?
Yep, you're correct. Also known as the Ford Edge.
Yeah. Okay. And it's in, old person pewter or whatever that is. And then we've got, with really nothing to go off of, except they need to change their rear windshield, their rear windscreen wiper. We've got an Audi A4 in black, very clean looking, from Iowa. Not much to go on. And then we've got a beat up A6 with what engine is that? Can you zoom in?
Yeah.
3.2? Yeah.
Got the 3.2.
3.2. Yeah. So that's a late car. That's a later model to have the 3.2. That must have been like the last time.
Yeah, last of the run. Yeah.
Right.
But that's probably what, like mid 2000s, late 2000s.
I think mid 2000s.
Early. Yeah. 04, 05, I'm saying.
Okay. Yeah. And then the A4 is newer, but then we got the license plates. We've got Audi J12, Audio S6, and Rowdy, spelled Raudi.
It's a rowdy Audi. Yeah.
Interesting.
Pat, have you ever had a vanity plate on any of your cars?
No. Not even close. I've thought about that new Pikes Peak plate, though. That has drawn me in.
Oh, is there a Colorado Pikes Peak plate now?
So there's a Pikes Peak hill climb plate that came out just before all this new run of plates we've just had.
Okay. I'm going to look it up real quick because I bet it's beautiful. Okay. Oh, race to the
cool.
Okay. Nice. Look at that. Okay. All right.
So yeah, I might pay in on that one.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
But you've never done a custom plate. You've never done a.
I have not. I'm not creative enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, neither are any of the people who get them. So you'd be in good company.
But I at least, acknowledge it.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
You have self-awareness, which means you're not going to get one of these. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right.
I would like to do a little bit of zooming and enhancing for you to kind of show you around this A6 on the bottom here.
Okay.
Because I think it has a modification that I don't know if I've ever seen before on these Audis. This is not a shadow, whatever this is, on the door at the bottom here. This is just black vinyl, maybe something like that.
They like installed a kick plate. That's not stock? That never came on any A6s?
Not that I know of. Ian's going to fiercely Google it.
I'm Googling.
Yep.
Lower.
And look at that wheel peel on that front wheel. This has definitely been well used.
Yes. Yeah. The brake dust is that wheel is more brake dust than it is wheel at this point. Yeah. That rear wing is really bothering me as well. Yeah, these little odd ends of it. Yeah,
all the way over the taillight. Yeah.
Yeah. I want you to drink this one in. Yeah, because it seems like something special to me. Yeah, but
That one screams rowdy to me. But
really, okay,
yeah. But
okay,
I'm not sure on the other two.
yeah. Ian, any takes?
Man, I don't know. I kind of think audio S6 might be in the Lincoln. Like maybe it's just a coincidence that it says S6 because also the A6 is not an S6.
Right. They're not going to be bragging about the wrong model.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they would. Who knows? People are insane. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if that trim is stock. So there was trim on that A6 that there was like black body trim on the bottom, but it didn't look like that.
Yeah,
Which is making me crazy.
It's weird it doesn't go down over the rocker panel.
That's so strange. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's like a weird like US market only thing or something. I don't know. Okay. But so I think audio S6 is the Lincoln. That's where I'm going. And then Audi J12. Did you have a theory on what J12 might mean?
I have no idea. I felt so strongly towards Rowdy on that A6.
Okay. I think you're right. I think Roddy is the A6 and I think Audi J12 is the A4, partly because I think with the spaces, that's too many characters for Colorado.
Ooh.
And that's a non-Colorado, that's an Iowa plate. I don't know, maybe they allow more characters than Colorado does. But I think that's too many characters.
Welcome to Iowa. You get 16 characters. Go.
Yeah, our license plates are in hex. We have IPv6 license plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I don't know. I think we're in agreement. Audio with the Lincoln, Audi Audi J12, and then the Roddy that has been raw dogged.
Would you like to change any of your answers?
I'm good. What about you, Pat?
I'm locking in here.
Okay. All right.
Final answer.
I have news for you, and it's not good.
Oh, no.
Unfortunately, these people are way more crazy than you give them credit for. For some reason, there's a person with Audi J12 driving around in their Lincoln MKC. Rowdy is the A4. And Audi OS6, because I think this person is doing a touch of car stanza to try to say that they have an S6, is on that A6. Yeah.
Fooling nobody. I will say, this is one of my favorite phenomenon ever is when clearly, like, because in my head, this is like an investment that's gone really poorly, or, you know, they lent their brother-in-law money to invest in something or other that went bust, and they had to sell their Audi, and they ended up in a Lincoln MKC instead, but kept the license plate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking they're a dealer. This is their 12th car, and they are an Audi dealer.
Oh, that could be.
They happen to be cruising the Lincoln.
And when you're an Audi dealer, your favorite car is something other than an Audi.
The runaround parts car is the Lincoln.
There you go.
Right. Just full of fuses in the back.
Yep. So thank you, Eric, and thank you, PETA, for sending these in. Eric sent in the Audi J12. I think in the text he said, your guess is as good as mine. And then PETA sent me Rowdy. Just over the weekend. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So if they're doing some car stanza on that last car,
uh-huh,
do you think it got that fin and body kit work before or after the plate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think before the plate. I think that they couldn't get the plate and it just looked like a vanilla Audi A6. They had to faboosh it up just a touch, and then they're like, okay, all right, Bryson, we're gonna go get the plate today. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? So I'm looking at an S6, the C5 S6.
Uh-huh.
And definitely it had that is the correct like trunk spoiler, but I don't think it had the spoiler over the back
Taillights.
taillights like that.
Yeah, I think they may have just made it out of putty in their
That's so weird.
basement. Yeah. Yeah. People do crazy stuff. They spend their money in weird ways. And like some of these aftermarket parts are way more expensive than they have any right to be. You know, like this wing, these little tack on wings, these could be 200 aside for all we know, you know?
Well, yeah, now that you've zoomed in, there's the fitment leaves a little bit to be desired on that. And who knows? Maybe we're just idiots and that is factory, but it doesn't look right.
I'm Googling wing extensions. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so odd looking. Yeah.
All of the ones I'm seeing that it's just the trunk lid spoiler.
Yeah.
And the more I look at the wing, the more I'm like, that would look great on a TT.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Yeah, that fits, right? Yeah. I don't know. People be crazy. I've had that Audi 06 in my hopper for years, it seems like now. And then Rowdy finally brought the Audi trifecta together. So thank you, Peter.
It's worse than that, guys. That trunk lid spoiler, that's an RS6 spoiler.
Now they're jumping miles.
Yeah. But they did not have the spoiler over the taillights. I'm sorry, I'm still fixated on the taillights.
There's going to be a few things that keep you up tonight, Ian. Yeah, that rocker panel vinyl. Yeah.
So weird.
Apologies for the insomnia. Yeah. Up front. Yeah. Yeah. So Pat, we do a segment on this show, and it's Ian's album of the week. And so, Ian, I was wondering if you had an album of the week for us. And then, Pat, I'd love for you to give us like a recent album that you like for good driving music. Okay. If anything comes to mind. Yeah. Or anything that you've just been listening to lately.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am completely unaware of what Pat's musical taste is.
I grew up playing in jazz bands. So there's a lot of jazz influence there. Give me a moment and I'll give you my album.
Ian's listening.
Yeah, no, I like jazz.
Yeah, I played electric bass for years, so lots of like Birdland and Weather Report. I'm real into them.
Okay, so more like fusion type stuff?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, what is that? Hold, please. Hold, please.
Hold for Googling. Pause for Googling.
You might even know. The Japanese jazz fusion dude from the 90s.
Oh, I don't know. I just very recently bought my first Japanese jazz record.
There's a great album cover of somebody skydiving.
Huh.
I'm sorry, I wasn't ready on my album here.
That's okay. Ian, do you have an album of the week?
I do.
While Pat furiously Googles? Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so while Pat is Googling, I'll go. So there's a new album coming out by one of my, a band that I really like that is fairly recent called Young Fathers. They have a new one coming out, but I'll pick their first record, which is my favorite of theirs, called Dead from 2014.
Okay.
I'm struggling because I don't really know exactly how to. They kind of defy categorization a little bit, so they're kind of they're all over the place as far as genre goes. But there's definitely a bit of hip hop in there. There's some electronic stuff going there. There's a lot of synth stuff going on in there. There's maybe like a sprinkle of Afrobeat happening. It's really good.
So they're on Anticon, which is a label that I'm familiar with because I'm a huge Cloud Dead and Restiform Bodies fan. So like really weird avant-garde hip hop, like very crazy abstract hip hop. The Anti-Com label was very foundational to me in like the late 2000s. Yeah.
Okay, and this sort of fits with that because they are kind of like a little bit out there for a pop record. So
yeah,
you will like this. I'm almost positive you're gonna like this one.
Okay. Yeah. Pat, what do you got for us?
So mine is called All of Me by Masayoshi Takanada. It's a 90s album. There's a great photo of a guy skydiving on the cover.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Here we go.
Oh, Dave got super lucky. I saw you. Dave started typing the name and then bailed immediately.
Just backspace.
He's trying to name that last name without flubbing it. That alone was tough.
Yeah.
But it's like I would almost call it like elevatory jazz pop, just kind of bumpy, upbeat, good for like a morning cruise up Pikes Peak. There we go. That's perfect.
Nice. I dig it. Yeah, I'll put links in the YouTube video to both of those albums. Yeah, for sure.
Very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Dave and Pat, I think we did a car show. What do you guys think? Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about cars. Yeah, there was no taint sunbathing. There was none of that usual stuff.
None of it.
I'm glad I could help with mostly cars today.
Yeah. Thank you for keeping us focused. I appreciate that. Pat, where can people find you? And where can they find the magazine?
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Shift Colorado magazine. Shift. You can find it through coloradocarsandcoffee.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Twitter at Pat's Curtains. PATSCURTINS. We like the plural. Other than that, go check out Pikes Peak. That's the coolest thing in the world. And go drive your car. That's it.
Absolutely.
Well said. Dave, if people enjoyed whatever this was, what should they do?
Well, if you see a weirdo with an Audi vanity plate on a non-Audi car, go ahead and text it to us at 720-515-1391. And tell us about your Pikes Peak experience if you've had one. Come to Colorado. Yeah. Meet up with us. We'll go karting. We'll go to Pikes Peak.
And ruin my week of sleep by sending me pictures of Audis that just are like 5% not correct.
Absolutely. Yeah. Trigger Ian with a tweet. Yes.
Yeah. Everybody, thank you so much. Pat, thank you again. Everybody, we love you. Thank you. Goodbye.